Okay, I see some new faces in the audience today, so we have introductions. I'm Andy Cronenbush, Chair, and I represent District 5.
Jerry Mueller, Vice Chair at Area 4.
Leo Speltz, Supervisor Area 1.
Bill Rocamp, Supervisor, Area 3.
Steve?
Steve Jacob, and I'm a County Commissioner, liaison to the board.
Sheila Harms, Winona County.
Megan Kigley, Winona County Environmental Planner. It's nice to meet you. I started in August and I've been helping Sheila, and they said I need to see some faces. So thank you for having me.
Amanda Gentry, Soil Water Resource Specialist.
Sue Glendy, District Conservationist, Winona County, NRCS.
Jessica Brodson, I'm the Customer Service Team Lead for NRCS. I'm located out of the Preston Field office, so I thought I'd join your guys' board meetings.
Wanda Anderson, SWCD Office Administrator.
I'm Darrell Buck, District Manager.
Okay. Is there any public comments? Any public comments? Any public comments? Hearing none, we'll move on. Mr. Jacobs has to leave early today, so I would like to move him up under G. We'll just put him at G5. So he can get, he's gotta leave by 10, so I don't know for sure when we're gonna get there, so we'll just move him up if we can have a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion made and second to move Steve up. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Then a motion on the amended
Move
agenda.
to approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve the agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion pass. You want to introduce yourself? We have two new members. We'll just have them two introduce them when you.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you introduce yourself and then you'll find out.
Never fails to get behind the slowest people in traffic. Good morning, I'm Josh Elsing, just another chairperson for District 2. So.
And then, I'm sorry, I should have wrote your names
Oh,
down
that's
when
okay.
you.
Megan Kigley, I'm working in Winona County as a planner. Sheila, and here to meet.
Excellent.
I'm Jessica Brodson, I'm the Customer Service Team Lead for NRCS. I'm located out of the Preston Field office, but I service both Houston, Winona, and Fillmore County.
Excellent. Nice to meet you, Jessica. Okay.
Okay. Consent agenda.
Move approval.
And of course that goes. This is my life, everybody knows this.
Motion's made to approve the consent. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries. River?
We got that gray 3-page packet. So you want to just 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the agenda there.
Okay. Treasury's report. Pretty self-explanatory. Any comments on it, Darrell?
We had checks go out after last month's meeting. I don't know if have any cleared through yet.
There's $30,000 in
Okay, so some have cleared, some
yeah,
haven't.
it's cleared, but not for.
And then we updated the interest. Leo was mentioning earlier how low our interest rates are, and I'm sure you guys have all seen that in your banking too. That's one thing that we've had also with our AGBMP loan. It's a low interest loan of 3%, while most people are getting their own loans for less than that because the interest rates are so low.
I don't think there's anything else we can really do that's fluid, that's gonna gain anymore. I mean, it's just fortunately where it's at.
You know, we have to have it accessible pretty quick notice, so.
The only thing we can do is short-term CDs, but that's a pretty big going in and out. So I see Fillmore really took a chunk out of there.
Yeah, we'll cover that next,
Yeah.
later.
I'll move approval of the treasurer's report.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion's been made and second to approve the treasurer's report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Root River One Watershed One Plan update.
Well, the biggest thing over the last month is we've completed all our E-Link reporting for the 2018 and 2019 grants. And just wanted to give you some numbers. For the 2018-19 grant, there's a total of 73 BMPs that have been paid, and 40 of them were in 2020. For the 2020-2021 grant, there's a total of 9 BMPs paid. So we're getting a lot of stuff done in there. We have a, what's it called, that report? Key milestones report that I have to do every year too. And the BMPs being put in is well over our milestone objectives that we've had. So that's pretty good to see. But if you look at that, you know, for 40 BMPs in 2020 and 9 in the other grants, so it's 49. Each of those require mapping, pollution reduction calculations, the payments, the matching funds, the landowner funds, project development hours, technical assistant hours, all reported in E-Link for each one of them individually. So it's a lot of work, and we got them all done with the help of all the other SWCDs and counties that are putting things into this, plus our own local staff too, getting all the information to us.
I know each one would be a different time frame because of the size, but do you have an average on what it takes time-wise to develop?
It really varies, yeah.
It really varies.
Some of them, if everything was, you know, for me putting it into E-Link, it can go really quick if all the information is there, but usually we're trying to get everything from all the different districts or whoever to, you know, they're doing these plus all their own grants, and it's easy to miss something here and there, so we're always chasing back and forth to try and get the missing information. But to put everything together is easily a couple hours for each, and then entering it into E-Link, if everything's working right, it could go pretty quick, but.
No, I mean including the time to survey and
For doing.
the whole project,
that
from start to
varies.
finish. I mean, you talking 50, 100 hours a project, or?
Some projects might only take 10 or 20 hours,
Okay.
and some could take weeks.
Okay.
You know, there's some are just a quick, easy waterway, and some are big ponds that have a lot of work. And a couple of them, one of them had a rock lined waterway coming into it, and that takes a lot more engineering and design. So it really varies. And that's just the ones that we cost share. The technical assistance dollars is also spent on putting together, working with NRCS on some of their projects too. And some counties do more of that than others, but there's a lot of stuff going into the watershed. A couple other updates. Policy committee meeting is February 22nd, so it'll be a week and a half, a week from this coming Monday. Also, just wanted to let you guys know that St. Mary's University has completed what's called hydro conditioning for the entire watershed. And that's when they have all their contours, all the contour lines don't all work properly because there's culverts all over in roads and in driveways, everything else. And also some of the ponds mess up the contours, so they had to go through and correct all that. And they had over 20,000 culverts and other breaches that they had to correct in the watershed. So, give you an idea of what goes into some of this stuff. Also, when they ran one of their tools on a sub-watershed, they said it took 85 hours for that tool to run. And once they enter everything, then they just tell it to run, and it runs till it calculates all the stuff, but it took 85 hours of run time.
Is that just for Winona County, or is that gonna be for our watershed?
That's for the whole river they've been working on.
Oh, just the river?
Yeah.
Oh, not the whole county?
No,
Oh, okay.
Now, the river just in Winona County or the
no, just
entire
the whole
watershed?
watershed.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's being funded by the One Watershed One Plan. Also, let you know, there's a 5-year update that's gonna be due, I can't remember if you said the end of this year or early 2022, so we have to start evaluating how things are going and if we need to make changes to the plan and stuff like that pretty soon. And then just one more quick note, MPCA contracted with Winona State to map all embankments or impoundments in the Root River, and they came up with over 7,000 structures. And they also mapped the area being protected by those, above those, and it was about 18% of the watershed. So you could have a lot of structures and still have a lot of watershed that needs protection yet. That's all I have for
Okay.
update.
2018, 2019 River, One Watershed, One Plan, payables, attachment.
So that's the back of the second page. In red are the new bills payable. And just to give you some ideas, Dodge SWCD did a grass waterway for 1,500 feet, and then some technical assistance. Fillmore had a grade stabe, a rock-lined waterway of 2,030 square feet, and some nutrient management planning and technical assistance granted in. Mauer SWCD had technical assistance working on a bunch of projects that got completed or are in the process. Homestead SWCD had 2 water and sediment control basins for the Chatfield drinking water supply management area. And Root River SWCD had a waste storage facility that partially was paid under this. They had federal and state RCPP dollars, but it wasn't quite enough, so they tapped into the One Watershed One Plan just for a few $1,000s. And when all these, if you guys approve these, that will put us at a balance for that grant of 7%. So that gets us into the last 10% of the grant by 22,000. And this grant expires this year.
We need a motion to approve payments.
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the payments. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. 2020, 2021 Root River.
So that's the third page there of your packet. There's payments for Fillmore SWCD and Root River SWCD. Fillmore was project development, working with the city of Mabel for some ideas for some flood control. And then Root River was the remainder of that egg waste facility.
And we did that in Altura one time. That was actually kind of nice. We worked with you guys on that. And I was the mayor there. That was, I mean, that was just, it was really nice, you know. So municipalities can turn to the county like that. It was pretty neat to see that. So, I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve them bills. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
So with that grant, we have a balance of 97%.
But that'll probably go a lot faster because people are gonna have more idea what's actually happening.
Yeah, and a couple of them are for very large projects too.
Okay, grants, agreements, contracts, and cost share contracts. Bowser Annual E-Link Grant Reporting. Just for
That's the-
clarification, this E-Link is a computer thing that
Yep,
connects, okay.
yep, that's where we have to report all our stuff for Bowser.
On that crazy interweb.
Yes. For those that don't know me, I don't do internet, so. I do have a few questions when there's stuff about computers on here. So.
This will be the pink sheet you have there.
Okay.
So we have all our E-Link reporting completed for all our own grants also. This is a list of the grants that we had to do. There's 12 of them that are part of our SWCD budget. And then there's 2 of them that are the One Watershed, One Plan, Root River budget. I just want to point out, if you look at the Root River, for the Root River One Watershed, One Plan that covers 6 counties, there's 2 grants to give us $2.3 million. For just one SWCD, it took 12 grants to give us $522,000. And that doesn't include the WACA grant that we work with that's under the county allocation. And then we have 7 other sub-agreements that we get funding through other counties because they're the fiscal agent for those grants. So there's a huge inefficiency here of how they're putting money out to SWCDs.
Administrative time in that for each one of those.
Yeah,
So is there any way to, is it happening, tracking the money that's being spent since the inception of 1-1s compared to the other grants that were coming that have been replaced by the 1-1? Are we able to determine how much spending is occurring compared to before 1-1 existed?
I haven't looked into it. I don't know that Bowser has yet either because this is the first round of implementation, that 18-19 was the first round of implementation funding. So maybe it's something that we can look at once this is done and have some final numbers.
That would just be looking at how they code administration time, right, versus for the percentage of whatever money there is. I realize I just simplified that.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Right. So we've got
And
50.
we do have that in the budget. I don't have that on me, but we do have the administration portion in the budget. What was it? I think it was 70,000 for the 851,000 grant.
Now, it does seem like a lot more work is being done since the inception of 1-1s.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot going into there.
Yeah.
Just looking to see if I had anything else. And part of this E-Link, we were also able to close 2 grants and have one more that's really close to being able to close, which sounds good, but before the end of the year, we'll have at least 2 or 3 new grants coming in too.
Got it on that?
Yep.
Okay.
Unless you had anything else?
Okay. Soil and Water Conservation District Cost Sharing Assistant Contracts.
That's the big folded sheet. So the page that's full, it says cost share contracts 2020. That's kind of just to give you a look at where we're at the end of last year. If you look down towards the bottom in the yellow, that's where it also shows our 12 funds that we gave cost share out of for 36 landowners and $54,000 in cost share. We have another 83,000 that's been allocated to be completed, hopefully a lot of it in 21. It just, a lot of those came in at the end of the year last year, so there's no way to get those done. And then there's also that RCPP feedlot for 175,000 and change that we don't actually have a grant for that. That's a contract we get through the Southeast Technical Support Joint Powers Board.
Is that on the credit marker
Yep.
project?
Also, on the top right is the list of some of the grants and their expiration dates. And there's 4 of them up there, and then the 2018-19 One Watershed, One Plan, those all expire in 21. So there'd be 5 of them expiring in 21. If you look on the back, is one where we would need some action on. We're looking for a new cost share contract for MSK Farms, that's Mark Bush.
It's in Fremont Township?
Over on that
I'm only looking-
Robertson Farm. Junction of Henry Drive
Yeah,
and
yep. Yeah, off the gravel there on, down from Priggy's.
yep, across the road from Earl Briggs.
There's a picture on there, if you go to the office suite, it's a, yeah.
You want to run
Feedlot.
And
What is
basically-
feedlot vegetative treatment? What's that?
It's a filter strip runoff
Oh,
control.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's the kind of code that we gotta go off of.
that? And this is through the 319 grant with the Goodhue SWCD. And that is $15,000 max, up to 50% cost share.
So I'm gonna walk up here so I can try to talk. I don't know if this is good. Looks good. So not all this being cost shared. Their plan here is to reduce the size of the feedlot here. The old feedlot came way out here, way down, way over. They're gonna extend the existing shed they have, put some drive-by feeding in. They're putting in a new monoslope here for their beef cows, with feeding under roof and outside for when they're pasturing and need supplemental feeding. Gonna do a stacking slab, and all the water from the lot up here, this lot down here, and the stacking slab will come into a earthen settling basin and then be routed out through a filter strip. Ends up being about 600 feet long and by 25 feet wide. What we're cost sharing on is making sure the lot here is graded this way, clean water stays out of it. Any water coming down here comes in, so we're cost sharing this portion, the stacking slab, and the settling basin. So the building and the new lot down here, we're not cost sharing on, but they're planning to do it, so we have to make sure that we size everything to handle that water, so.
How many head are they talking about in that lot?
They've got 80 beef cow-calf pairs, and they're bringing over heifers to put up here. So, bringing over heifers from their existing dairy, so.
So the water from that bigger, monoslope building will be going to the left.
Yeah, we're gonna have them keep their, feedlot off there and grade it all around. The building's not gonna be going up until later this summer. So what we're gonna do is they're gonna build it in a way that they can, this will stay earthen, but everything will be directed here, and they'll attach that to it. So they'll have to kind of build onto it. So it's taking a little bit more, it's a little bit more complex to try to plan everything out when it's not all being built at the same time.
Because we have to use our funds by July 31st.
Yeah, because the grant closes August 31st or 30th or whatever it is. So,
All the clean water, the roof water, we do everything we can to make sure it stays away
Stays
from
out.
the.
that would be a lot of extra
Treatment.
water to plan for. So the estimate on this is about 64,000, and we can only give them 15,000. So they're still wanting to do it. They want to do everything they can to, you know, make sure it's not causing a pollution problem. So they've got their manure management plan done and turned into Harley, so they should be good to go there. So yeah.
So why run the water to the north of the shed? Why not run it out into the basin? What's the?
Oh, the roof water?
Yeah.
So if that clean water comes through this, our settling basin is sized to hold a 25-year, 24-hour storm, so this will
it's
get
the
bigger.
size of that basin. isn't it?
And our
Otherwise,
filter
they'd
strip
have
will
to
get bigger.
increase the size of the basin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then our filter strip will get bigger as well.
So the answer is they don't want to put the extra cost in the basin, so run it that way.
Yeah, and it's best always to keep water clean. They've got a brand new waterway over this way that they can route it to, since they're already, a lot of this would have naturally gone this way anyway, so some of this here now going that direction kind of helps offset it a bit, so.
That's always the hard thing with these maps. You don't understand topography.
Yeah,
So
and if I would have put those lines on here, it would have gotten more complicated, so.
some people know what they mean, some don't.
Yes, yeah, so, so yeah. that's
So
what we're
what's
doing
the
there.
total head gonna be when they,
So they've got the 80 cow calves, for beef, and then they're bringing about 80 heifers over from their existing feedlot, so.
So what's the transition from the basin to the waterway? Do they
There's a.
size rock down, or what do they do?
There's a pipe in there, and it's sized at 2.6 inches. An orifice is gonna be in there to, reduce the amount of water coming through, because that filter strip can only handle so much at a time.
That's what I mean. So out of that pipe, what's the transition out? Is it a rock basin under there, or what do they do?
So this little piece of concrete here is very level.
Yep.
So it's a level spreader, it's gonna let the water go down that filter strip nice and smooth. The filter strip, the first 250 feet is at a 1% slope, and after that, it's a 2.5% slope.
So it's real flat at first.
Yeah.
That level spreader helps spread it across the whole water.
Yeah,
Right.
it's 25 feet wide there, so it'll.
So who's gonna
it'll
unplug the orifice when that plugs in?
Yeah, that's gonna be fun.
Is there a picket fence in front of it?
Yes,
too?
there's a picket fence along up here to keep the solids on the lot. And mostly this area here, we can't cost share on this piece of concrete because we can have the water transition over grass before going into our settling basin. Really, this piece of concrete here, so when he drives through feeding here, he can get out. He's gonna drive through underneath this roof feeding, and he can get out. He can drive down around here and turn around and get back out. So really, this is just area for him to turn, and then access his stacking slab down there. So that area here should stay clean constantly. So there shouldn't really be too much solids ever getting towards that settling basin. But yeah. There'll likely be a Higginbottom or something on the pipe too, as well as the orifice restrictor.
those are all bedded packed,
What was it?
bedded packed?
Inside, here it is, and then inside that building will be, but then otherwise it's, you know, just outside. Yeah. And this is, this paddock back here is mostly gonna be for sorting and things like that. They're gonna have a cattle lane coming into the back of the building here that they're gonna have to figure out how they wanna keep that clean water, you know, going through and stuff, so. So, yeah.
Like it.
It'll work out well for them, they're pretty excited for it, so.
So we need approval of the contract.
So moved. Is that for front and back loans?
Is that, just the back,
Just the back one?
the
Okay.
one in highlighted in yellow.
Okay. Motion been made, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second to approve that feedlot. Okay. Any further discussion on it? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
If you look at the bottom of that back page, right now, we have $115,000, almost $116,000 in cost share available for contracts.
For the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, to encumber, some of them expire this year, but most of them are 22 years. expiration.
You said that the 319 is gonna be all done after this 115 is what's gonna replace it.
Nothing.
That's what we talked about this last meeting.
Yep.
In the future, still have to go through equip for any feedlot options. We won't have any in our office that I think, I don't know if there was maybe else with them, but.
Just our regular cost share, if we wanted to do something like that, we can consider it.
Yeah, that's pretty,
Not much money there to.
no, it's a lot of paperwork and stuff, I think, for that too, isn't there?
Not necessarily. It's it's the vegetative stuff that has some paperwork, but that's actually changing, Bowser's changing some of that, so it won't be so complicated for the cover crop cost share anymore. Hopefully.
Okay, ready to move on?
Yep.
Contracts, new board action, Wabasha County, SWCD.
That's a water quality certification program, and the last few years, we've been getting, these contracts or subcontracts with Wabasha to both promote and outreach, or technical assistance for people in the program. It's the same one we've had the last few years.
Make a motion to accept that, do that again.
Second?
Motion made in second to
Approve the
Dated.
contract.
pardon?
Approve the contract.
Approve the contract at $2,500. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Joint Powers Agreement. State of Minnesota DNR.
As soon as Amanda's gonna talk about too.
Have any of you guys heard of the Walk-in Access Program? It's a DNR program that landowners can make an agreement with to allow public access hunting on the property. No, maybe? Okay.
Yeah, but how many people actually do it?
Out west, there's quite a few. They've got a
I
lot
think
of
in
contracts.
Wisconsin they do too.
Do they?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know.
they're killing problem deer because they got a lot of problem deer.
Okay.
They'll let them do it, but
They're
around
actually,
here, I don't.
they're having problems with it. My son just talked to a DNR guy last week about it. The guy that signed most of Winona County up had gone to a different position, and now he's back trying to smooth out all the problems that happened with it before
Yeah,
he
because that
retires.
it
That's
gets cumbersome
not the
because it's like an
walk-in one,
open.
though. You're
Yeah,
talking
that's not
about-
This ain't the
walk-in
walk-in one?
No, so the walk-in access, this
I
is
don't-
the first
I don't
time it's
think it-
being offered.
I don't
over
think it's here.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
the first time it's being offered
Oh.
in southeast Minnesota.
But I think what they have it's not, I don't know if Wisconsin, I know West, like you said, but I think Wisconsin was doing it too.
Yeah, I know, yeah, western Minnesota has a ton of it, and then if you go further west, they've got a lot of it too.
Okay.
It was initially opened up for pheasant habitat through, Pheasants Forever kinda did a big push for it, so.
Which surprises me with the pheasant population being as low as it is, so
Yeah,
they've been trying to bring that back since the early 2000s.
so.
Jerry's shooting all the pheasants.
What's that? Oh, yeah, it's Jerry bringing them in by the 5-gallon bucket.
Just a reminder, we are being,
Yeah.
You have to go to
For YouTube,
Nebraska
so.
fast to get any.
Yeah, we gotta razz them a little.
All right, so what the DNR is asking in this joint powers agreement for the SWCD to do is sign a 2-year joint powers agreement. We would have to advertise the sign up to landowners, assist with determining the boundaries of a walk-in access area with each of the landowners, determine if that land is eligible, and we're basically the middleman between DNR and the landowner. Enrollment process, so the sign up starts March 15th and goes through May 14th. Landowners will be contacted if they're approved or denied in June, at the end of June there, and then we would submit our invoices in June and get reimbursed $250 per agreement that we successfully get all the way through the process. And then landowners would receive their payment in June of next year after they've had their land in for that program. It's similar to CRP that way, where you get the payment after it's been in for that year, so.
What kind of payment are they getting?
That's coming up here in just another slide, I think. So the criteria is there's a minimum 40 acres that they have to enroll. It's either that or they can be immediately adjacent to other public hunting land if they have less than 40 acres. They're targeting programs like CRP, Crp, and RIM landowners. However, any wildlife habitat that's determined by the SWCD as good wildlife habitat can be enrolled, such as people's woodlands and things like that. Habitat has to remain intact from September 1 through May 31st. If the landowner is found to be doing something with the habitat during that time, then there's a payment reduction. This can make it difficult for people in CRP to get their mid-contract management done because they basically have August 1st to September 1st to do that management, and that's it. A safe access point is required. If there's a landlocked parcel that you're trying to put in, you have to provide a 10-foot access strip that does not have crops on it, so people can easily access the hunting area. You cannot make them cross a stream or a ditch. They had this happen out west where there's a ditch running along the roadside, and they would try to get the people to cross through that. Well, you can't make them do that.
You gotta understand the ditches out there are a lot different than the ditches
They
here.
are, yes. Yeah, a normal road ditch is not a problem.
Their ditches are 10 foot deep.
Yeah.
You know.
So, and then able to provide parking for 1 to 2 cars to fully pull off the road, preferably out of the right of way. If it's on a back township road where there's not a lot of traffic, they can have the right of way as a parking area. If they're on a main highway like 14 or anything like that, 33, they have to be out of the right of way, just for safety. Signs will be placed by the DNR surrounding that walk-in access area. I believe it's every 50 feet they put a sign marking so that people know where the edge of that property is. No motorized vehicles except by the landowner doing maintenance or farm operations. So technically the way this reads is even if the landowner is hunting on his own property and shoots a deer, technically he can't go on there with a four-wheeler to drag it out. So a few little things that way. And then landowner agreements are 1 to 3 years. A landowner decides.
So what's the purpose for, is this trying to open up private land for public?
Yes, for public hunting. Yeah.
So if people wanted to have their land hunted in the first place, I mean, why would they sign up for something like this?
Yeah, it makes more sense out west versus here. And
Yeah.
we're gonna get into some more of that here with the PowerPoint. Landowners do have to pay taxes on money received through this program, so they get a 1099, and the payment is $18 per acre. So it doesn't add up too quickly, but it helps pay your taxes. Public access hunters must purchase a walk-in access validation. So if you're a public hunter and you want to use this site, you have to purchase that first. I've searched online and cannot find anywhere where it tells me what the cost is. You have to actually go into like the payment portion to do that, so I couldn't figure out how much that is. Only immediate family members of the landowner can hunt the property without that walk-in access validation. So if you have friends or cousins or something like that you normally hunt out there, they have to get that validation. And trapping is allowed only with the landowner permission. So trapping isn't just completely open on these areas. You have to get permission still.
So help offset your taxes, but it'll tax you on the money that we give you.
Yeah. So pros of the program are some landowners may need this program to help afford their property and pay their taxes. And I don't know that I feel comfortable not providing a program to landowners that may be available to them. Cons are...
You have to pay state income tax on that money.
They do, yeah. So, primary species in Minnesota for hunting is gonna be white-tailed deer, which usually run after being shot, and this could present problems with neighbors. You know, if they're constantly getting called saying, oh, I shot a deer on this walk-in access land and I need to come get it. Well, they could upset a lot of people doing that.
I think the bottom one is gonna be the biggest problem.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be setting it up, it's gonna be dealing with all the problems.
Yeah, and then we get $250 per agreement that we help complete all the way through from the landowner coming in with interest through actually signing the agreement with DNR. If they don't sign the agreement in the end with DNR, we don't get paid for it. My billing rate is $62.64, so that's 4 hours per agreement, plus we've got our time put into advertising, talking to people up front and things like that. So, basically, you know, we kind of need your thoughts. Are we gonna move ahead with this or not? There's a lot of cons to the program. However, again, it's a program available by the state, for landowners, so, it's kind of need your guys' input on it, so.
Well, in the West, it's a big deal because there's a significant amount of the land owned by a very small portion of people.
Yeah.
And so to get permission to go hunt 20,000 acres around here, you'd have to go talk to 40 people. Out there, you might talk to one.
Right.
So I can see how this would be advantageous. Around here, it could be, and there, again, you know, it's a little bit different scenario, so I don't know. I guess my question would be, is there a demand for it? And even if we don't, even if we say, sure, we'll do it, but we don't put any effort, we just allow it to be what it is, and if somebody asks, then we do it? Do we really need to advertise it and promote it and create a
Well,
bunch more work?
that's part of the
for us?
contract.
Yeah.
So you have to?
Yeah.
And they pay for that advertising, or?
No, we do.
It's all part of that 250.
I don't think it's worth it. I don't think you'd have any interest around here.
That's, I thought too, but we wanted to get.
I see it the other way around for the most part. People are trying to keep people off their land and don't want to even.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And they
So
want
and
control
Jerry
of
got
who's on
comment.
it.
Will this happen only if we promote it, or is it gonna happen whether we have involvement or not?
You know, I'm not sure, because it's an agreement with DNR, so I suppose DNR, if they have people reach out to them directly, they can get an agreement signed. I suppose it's mostly us helping them get those people in the door.
There might be a unique case or two in Winona County, but I agree with Leo, I don't think there's gonna be any interest in this whatsoever.
Right.
Especially on the
It's
northern part.
primarily for
Yeah.
pheasant hunting.
Yeah, especially in the northern part of Winona County, we've got thousands of acres of public hunting already,
Yeah,
you know, around,
yeah,
so.
so,
Hey, Steve, you.
Well, the deer are all on your land.
What's your thoughts?
I guess in our area, people are renting out their hunting rights,
that's
so,
like Whiskeler
There's a
Valley,
lot of
that's
that,
all
yeah.
custom rented out hunting, isn't it? I mean, a lot of it is.
well, even, we
So
rent out
you
our
almost
farm.
make any
Yeah.
money on this much land, is to
And you're
look at
making more than
$18
$18
an
an acre.
I mean,
Is it only
You don't wanna know what we're
like
making.
It's not woodland or?
It can be CRP, crep, and rim, or if you've got
That's
a
just
40
the
acre parcel
priority.
that's,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
wooded, and we go out there and we say, yeah, this is beneficial habitat for wildlife for hunting, you know, then we can say yes.
But not cropland?
No, no, it cannot be cropland because you can't alter the cover, and it has to be it has to be 500 feet away from dwellings.
I can see, the only thing I could really see in this scenario is where somebody has land next to public land that people are hunting it anyway,
Yeah,
where they're like, well, I might as well just get paid for the same people that are
well,
gonna
there's
walk through it.
definitely
You
a
know what
number
I mean?
of,
I could see that happening, but
Yeah.
other than that, I don't see anybody else doing this.
there's a number of widows out there as well, I think that this could be beneficial for, you know, but that's hard.
A number of what?
Widows,
But are they really gonna wanna deal with it?
Yeah.
You know, that's
yeah.
gonna be the thing. So I would suggest just leaving it drop.
So,
For deer hunting, it seems like people are leasing their land
Yeah,
if they want it, people out there, and they're gonna make a lot better money on that, this program.
In pheasant territory, they're doing the same thing, not in this state, but in the
Dakotas.
Dakotas and
Yep.
elsewhere. They lease it out to guides.
So we just need you guys to tell us yes or no.
If we don't have a motion, it just dies, doesn't it?
yeah.
That's telling us yes or no.
Yeah.
So. Okay, no motion, she's gone. Okay, per agenda, we'll have Steve do his comments, then when his time comes, he's free to go.
Okay. Yeah, thanks for amending your agenda for me. I don't have really too much, I guess that's going to remain from the county board to this board. One thing that did come up at our last meeting was chronic wasting disease and DNR baiting and sharpshooting. So a year ago, they asked to bait deer on Stone Point Park property. And then I did get a fair amount of kickback from the citizenry that, you know, they weren't happy with the program in general, and furthermore, why not just open the season to the public? Why pay public employees to bait deer and sharpshoot them when you could just open the season and let people who wanna willingly hunt deer do it? So this year, they gave us a presentation, but the county board did not approve them to go out and bait deer and sharpshoot on county property. So then they just gave us the ongoing update on how many CWD cases there are in the area. It's a pretty low number, nothing into my area, in the Whitewater area, I just watch that pretty close. But that's pretty, you know, significant hunting area in Winona County. And then just listening to your discussion here on the $18 an acre it would be for allowing people to hunt that property. So a lot of farmers would have 100 acres, that'd be $1,800. But the hard part though for me to swallow is you're taking $1,800 from somebody to give to somebody else, and you know, it's the whole perpetuating taxes. That money has to come from somewhere, so that's a tough pill for me to swallow, and it could just be willing participation between private parties. The government, one more program for the government to maintain, and it seems like they don't go away. And so I guess that kind of parlays into one of the next discussions county board is having is whether to enact a 1/4 cent sales tax countywide to pay for the jail. So on a 4-to-1 vote, the other 4 commissioners voted to move ahead with exploring a 1/4 cent sales tax to pay for the jail.
What's expected, what's the life expectancy on that, or what did they say?
Well, until it's paid for, which I think was around 25 years. In the case of the other sales tax, like in Rochester, once they have it, then they just figure something else out to spend it on. My position was just, let's try to minimize the impacts as much as we can on property taxes and not enact yet another tax. But I kind of was surprised that Marcia Ward is supportive of it, but she sees it as a way to not have the bill on property tax and get it paid by a different revenue stream. So I guess that's her mentality, and the other 3 commissioners see an appetite for it as well. So we're going to explore it, and we'll see where it goes. But it would require a referendum and a long time to do.
Is this in replacing putting it on the tax, real estate tax program? Or is it gonna be in addition to?
In theory, it would be that much less on the property taxes.
I like that better, actually, in a way, but.
Yeah.
Cause what's the alternative?
There you go. My concern is, I just try to resist as many taxes as I can wherever I can. And I feel like some members of the board really haven't ever met a tax that they didn't like. And will it parlay into lower property taxes? It could just be another tax. So.
Cause what would be the alternative to pay for it? Cause if it doesn't go on the property, it goes with the sales.
Yeah, it'll be a one-time increase in, basically in the next tax cycle.
On property.
On property tax. One of the mitigating factors to that is I've been working feverishly for 8 years to continue to pay down our county debt, and this year we've become at 0. We have no debt. So that would immediately parlay into taking on the jail debt, which means really not much property tax increase because we're closing one debt, starting a new debt. Minimal impact to the property tax by way of, there'd have to be some kind of increase, but not as bad as if we weren't closing up this other debt. So my concern is it'll just be, the county board will see an appetite for, oh, we could do this or that and the other thing with the closing out of the property tax debt, and they'll business as usual, increase that, and then they'll add the 40% sales tax as well, so, we'll see where it goes. It would require a referendum, it would require, legislative action at the state, which all would consume really large amounts of staff time to make this all happen, and getting that process to play out, to come to fruition. None of that is free, that process. And then if we end up not doing it, just, that whole process, that's not free either. So at this point, I haven't supported it, but we'll see where it goes, and I'm always wanting to hear input, so if you,
So the money that it would take to build a jail,
roughly 25 million.
is that through, raised by bonds then, or?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already secured 10 million in bonds, so it's going to have to be a second bond to finish the project. And it'll be a 2021 groundbreaking project here. I mean, we've got all the approvals, we've got the land. County board has moved ahead with doing it. There's no. This isn't a referendum for if we want to do a jail. This is a referendum of
How to
we
pay
want
for it.
what we've already voted to spend.
How are the interest rates determined on a bond like that?
Just never been lower, and we have high, since we carry no debt, we have high credit rating. I want to say it's like 0.9%. It's just ridiculously low. So, that's an argument for borrowing money.
It's also why we're only getting 0.2 in the bank.
Yeah, but even when you borrow money low priced, it still has to be paid back.
There's a cost of money.
Yep. So,
This is what I'll say, Steve, and you and I agree on a lot of different things, but the one thing I do like about a sales tax, I don't like any tax, and you already know that, but the one thing I do like about that is it's more volunteer. If I decide to buy something, I make that decision versus on a property tax. It just falls on me, and I gotta figure out.
I think that's where Marsh is coming from.
And so I can appreciate that. I can appreciate the sales tax because that is just something, it's not on food and it's not on clothing. So it's gonna be, on basically everything else. So if I decide to buy a new phone and I really want that phone and I pay that quarter-cent tails, that's up for that, right? So it falls into a lot more non-necessity things than it does for housing and physical locations and things that we need to survive, That is one thing, so I would side towards the sales tax over the property tax. That would be me, but then again, I don't own property, so.
I guess I feel the same way. Let's capture some of the money that those college students spend. Because you're a bar.
You're mean.
Well, no.
Or people passing through the county.
Yeah, tourism will pay. I
Tourism.
mean, all your bars and stuff, that food is taxed, so that will be contributed to it, so. I'd rather see that than paying real estate taxes, because it's
Same
gonna
here.
affect everybody that spends
So there's
money.
only so much land, and you only
Yeah.
tax it so much,
Yeah.
and like, granted, as buildings go up and down, that.
But I'd like to see, that's why I was asking earlier, does it replace the real estate tax, or is it in
So
conjunction
I
with?
think Steve's fear is that if we don't do it, they're gonna do that anyway, and find a reason to do it anyway, so, but let's not rush into it.
My goal would be to minimize the impact of property taxes as much as possible.
Yeah. Can they put sunsets on those?
We sure would. I mean, that would be part of the enactment of it. And in Rochester, when they did that in 1978, they put a sunset on it when that project was paid for, the flood control project was paid for, but it just kept parlaying into, okay, now let's do this because people are used to paying it, and let's do this, and so I think historically those taxes usually don't go away, even though the intentions originally are that they would go away. I think I have some other concerns with it, because I think the only tax that I ever have supported is the half-cent sales tax that is largely paid in towns, and it's almost solely used for fixing our rural roads. And I see this as becoming an argument potentially between the 3 city commissioners and the rural commissioners, in that it'll redredge that half-cent sales tax. They got the road they wanted, fixed out in Goodview, they all say, we don't need that, let's have this tax. And then we won't be getting our roads fixed, and it'll reopen that issue, is my concern. So I would just rather just let it all lay and stay with what we have, because the rural area is really benefiting, and it's largely at the expense of people passing through and at the, it's paid in town, not, it's paid by rural people too. So maybe just one other thing. Supreme Court decided they will not hear frac sand lawsuit appeal, so that's pretty much a dead issue where it stands now. And then the other thing, of course, we're working feverishly on is trying to get more vaccines and get the distribution going. So those are kind of some of the main things that the county. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, just get back to me.
Any more questions for Steve? Okay, move on to new business. Dues paid annually.
That's the blue sheet.
So we're over budget?
Everything's on except for the technical support joint powers board. That put us over budget.
Why did that jump? I see, I remember that jumping, but why did that?
Because they don't have the money. It's very similar to us. All the grants they get are for very specific things and not just for running your operations. I think that's probably the easiest way to explain it, really.
Who's on that board?
Bill?
I am.
Steve, are you?
Are we looking at these individually or as a whole sheet as far as approval?
It's up to you guys.
I'll just call you. Yeah, we're done. Okay.
This joint powers board, is that the one that we given an additional 2,500 last year because
Yep.
they were short of funds?
Yep.
And I thought our agreement was we were gonna do that this year, but not every year?
Well, that was the hope. I don't know what's gonna happen next year, but the way things are looking, we may be able to reduce this some because we're looking at other options to bring in money. One of the things that we're talking about is with, not with our current One Watershed, One Plan grants, but with future ones, maybe designating a certain amount of money out of each of those to go to the Joint Powers Board because they're gonna be working on some of these projects anyway. And that would help hopefully help reduce our dues also. And the other thing is, right now, I think, or is the WinLAC the only one that doesn't have implementation funding now? Or is there another one in Southeast that?
I don't,
The Zumbro and the Canon either are getting it or are gonna be getting the implementation money real soon, I can't remember, but, so everything would be covered. All the watersheds in our southeast would have One Watershed, One Plan money to put towards that, except for the WinLAC, but we're a couple of years, at least a couple of years out yet. So that's the one way I can see that hopefully this could go back down again.
So why since 2016, it had jumped from 500, and then it was 1,000 with a few additions.
And what are they doing?
Why
It's
is
so
it
different.
increased so much?
Basically, they were using money until it was gone, and now it's gone.
Oh, using a reserve
Yeah.
reserve funds? Okay. So actually, with this one, we're actually $500 less than last year.
Yep, we are.
If you wanna look at a bright side.
So in a way, we were right that it was a one-time thing, because it was 2,500, and now it's only 2,000, but, yeah, hopefully it's gonna go back down, but it might, hopefully it'll be down next year, I'm not sure.
What's the value coming out of that board?
All the feedlots that we work
One
on,
just got on it, so.
or most of the
I can't
feedlots that we
answer.
work on are done by those engineers, Mark Kreidemacher one, that, or Cronebush, I'm sorry. Amanda puts together the layout based on what she's looking at and what the landowner wants, but the engineer has to go through and design everything and sign off on everything. And the same with, Tim's feedlot, they're working on that. Plus, they work on some of our larger structures. They're working on a couple of structures for, the MUD project.
So it's more like the value is the I mean, we talked about this before, but it's still the value, and that is the consolidated pool of having one person that multiple people.
Yeah, we have a certified engineer being able to do projects, but we don't have to pay the whole cost of them.
It's like a per diem or ad hoc sort of deal. They would need you to do it.
It's a joint powers board.
Yep.
They're all working together.
So,
Well, I remember one thing that, when we were, I can't remember when this meeting was, but it was, we were presented with, the shortfall and stuff, and it was like $65,000 or something like that. And at that time, there was a couple of comments that, looking back, which is always, maybe a little bit easier, that, these dues should have probably been raised, years ago.
Yeah.
But they just kept them the same, and costs keep going up. So I think what we're trying to do is to catch up, and hopefully, we can reduce those dues. We'll see,
so what's the checks and balances for, what they bill out for time? Is that set by your board?
They have Bowser billing rates just like us.
Just like us?
Yeah.
That's what I was asking, who sets
Yeah.
those rates?
All their grants are all Bowser grants too, so everything is Bowser billing rates, Bowser grants,
So if we don't support them, then what? We don't get to use them?
right?
we don't get an engineer.
And we recoup some of this money by them designing stuff for us.
Yeah, we get all these projects done that we wouldn't otherwise be able to do.
So we set the
of that
budget.
3,000, what percentage about would we recoup?
Well, I don't know if we can really say we recoup. We aren't getting, those two feedlot projects in our county aren't gonna get done if we don't
Okay.
have them. And that's just the ones that are going on now, plus the MUD projects, they're working on the, Kunst project too.
So we're almost tied, we almost have to, have them work with us.
Yeah, I don't think, so my question is, when we set the budget this year, we set it at 7,500, were we just not anticipating that again? I don't remember.
We were anticipating a little bit, but not that much,
Not
I guess.
So next year, we just gotta make sure we adjust that.
Yeah.
So, I don't see any way out of
Apparently
it.
we
They see
figured
me-
1,500 instead of
Yeah.
3,000.
They seem essential. I mean, we've had this discussion how many years now, so. And everything else on here, I mean, it looks like, and the SWCD stayed the same. One question I have, and I realize it's minuscule, I'm not questioning the amount, but I don't know why I've never noticed this, and maybe I have asked this question before, but what, the $10 and the 25, the Minnesota Associated Conservation District employees, and then there's that again for the southeast? What's the
Yeah, the
redundancy
state
for?
association and the local.
What do they do for you?
That's a lot of our training, a lot of our, working with your guys' state association.
There are just two of them, so I just
Yeah.
question how they overlap, or
It's the same as you guys, you have.
big
I don't know
one
if
and
you
the
have
smaller one, local
Yeah.
one. Yeah. I assume that, but it's just.
Ours are a lot less though.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said I'm not questioning the amounts, I'm just curious.
I thought you were gonna ask the 501 for NACD, and that just put us.
That put us in the higher tier.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that one's always negotiable, I mean, that's just the tier that you guys chose to be in.
Yeah, but by going to that put us into the silver or whatever it was.
Whatever tier it was, yeah.
I remember we did that. Yeah, 2018, I remember that discussion. I don't see how we're gonna get out of it, so I make a motion to approve it as is, even though it goes against the budget, so. What else can we do?
No more discussion. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion approved in a second to, and made in a second to approve the dues. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Just have to take it out of Juan's copy or something.
Okay. Memorandum of agreement. Mississippi River, Winona, La Crescent watershed.
We have that up here too.
Yep, it's in the office suite. You're on office suite, all right, don't go back over. All right,
Oh,
there. Yeah, you can just barely tell it's supervisor.
yeah, I didn't notice that anything had, and you didn't click the first
Oh,
time.
go back over.
This
Those
one?
will show up when you plug that chip into the projector. Okay, yeah.
So I don't know if you guys wanna go through this whole, memorandum of agreement. It's very similar to what we have for the Mississippi, or for the Root River. It lists off all the partners, so it's Homestead, Wabasha, Winona, and Houston counties, and our SWCDs, plus the city of Winona, because they're an MS4, for stormwater planning. And then also the Stockton, Rolling Stone, Minnesota City Watershed District. And basically, it goes through and says that we're all working together to produce a comprehensive plan that would be eventually, if everybody approves it, would replace our watershed plan, or our county water plan. Then it also designates who's gonna be the fiscal agent and who's gonna be the day-to-day contact. So the fiscal agent would be Root River SWCD, and the day-to-day would be Winona County. Sheila is a water planner, would be the day-to-day.
Do you have a map of that handy or not,
Yeah.
of the crescent?
I was scrolling through my computer, not this. I don't know if you guys wanna, there's a lot of whereases, setting up, you know, all the requirements of the state and for counties and SWCDs and watershed districts and stuff.
It's 14 pages long.
It's a short quiz at the end.
We've gone through it with the policy committee. I think we made a couple minor changes with their recommendations. Sorry, this isn't on a computer, so I can't just click and move.
There's input from 5 attorneys.
Yep.
So then they'll have representatives from each area, and then out of
Each
them, there will be
county,
a
each
chairman elected.
SWCD, the city, and the watershed district all have represented, or have representatives on the policy committee.
So what do they need from us?
Just approval of the memorandum of agreement that we're gonna work together. There
Do
it
you
is.
see anything in there that we need to discuss?
Nope, what I just mentioned, the fiscal agent and the day-to-day contact, in case you guys had concerns, that's really what we recommended as staff. Kind of going with the same idea that we have for the RUT, that we don't want the biggest player being the fiscal agent.
Yeah.
So moved.
Was it, have we decided who's the representative from Winona?
Yep.
No.
Yeah, remember he went to the bathroom, so you guys
Yeah.
didn't know.
So why is that colored there in the,
That's the watershed district, the
Yeah.
Stockton, Rolling Stone, Minnesota City.
oh, okay.
So we always talk about that little spot right on there in the top of Houston, it's included
Yep.
in that, but we gotta keep Houston in everything because of that little spot down there. So,
And then the city of Wabasha, that actually jumps across the Zumbro River and includes that area because it's another one of those little sub-watersheds that don't tie to anything.
Not a very big watershed.
Nope, it's a smaller one.
I'll move a lot.
Approval of the MOA.
Is there a second?
Yeah, second. Thought I already moved to approve. That's
Again, motion's been made and second for the memorandum. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Also,
Yeah,
just
one question on that. From here, it looks like Wabasha County drains through our plan.
The Zumbro goes in between it,
Zumbro.
yep,
So it's split by a different
Yep.
watershed river.
yep. I tried to convince Wabasha to throw that into the Zumbro, but they didn't. Or tried to convince the Zumbro people to do that, and they didn't.
Okay.
It's technically, that is part of this watershed, because when EPA, I think, put them together, or whoever put these together across the
nationwide
nation, it
watershed.
actually overlaps into Wisconsin, and that's why that's part of it. Doesn't make sense here locally, but in the bigger picture, I guess it does. One thing I was gonna point out too, the policy committee did approve calling it the WinLAC. So we don't have to say Mississippi River Winona and Mississippi River the Crescent. A couple of them said they've been doing that already, so.
Done with that?
Yep.
Okay. Legislative briefing and day at the Capitol.
So the legislative briefing is March 18th from 10 to 12. It's virtual. They're going to have the key legislators there to speak, the state agency leaders, presentation on SWCD issues pending before the legislature, and an overview of activities related to the MASWCD 2021 platform, legislative platform. So that's all going to be part of that virtual meeting from 10 to 12. So that'd be pretty much what we usually did the night before we went and met with the legislators. There's a $50 per person registration fee. We can do one registration, but we have to list each of the people that are going to be part of it, and there's a $50 fee for each. I don't know what's costing $50 a person, but
And is this just gonna be one-sided, or are we gonna be able to put input into or questions to the legislators?
I don't know. What they call it a webinar? Or they call it a Zoom, or I can't
They
remember.
call it a webinar, because I asked you.
Oh, that's right, yeah. So I think there can be discussion back and forth. My guess it would be similar to your state convention. So we need to know who wants to participate in that, so we can sign each of you up.
The legislative virtual meetings, is that
That,
laboratory, so.
Okay.
the one on your list
Are
there,
you gonna
that's
be wanting to
just
go to
the.
this?
That's what I
the
was
Let's
whole
wait.
group
Okay.
meeting.
We'll wait till you get
but
back.
I'm trying to weigh out, does the $50, is the $50 just like the one we usually do the night before? The legislative
Yeah.
virtual meetings are there regardless,
The
We're not
individual
paying for
meetings,
that.
we do ourselves,
right?
so it's not part of the $50.
Because what I kind of see on that, I mean, it's always very, I guess I always sat in those sessions and I always enjoyed some of those things. But, I mean, granted it is $50, but it's $50 for 2 hours for all of us to sit there when,
Each of you
if it's
sit
not
next
even
to you.
interactive, which it probably isn't gonna be because there's too many people. I don't know if it's necessarily worth that. Cause it's not just that $50, but it's in the 75 per diem and the mileage and blah, 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 unless we
Well,
can
there's
do
no
it.
mileage, because it's all
Are we gonna get together as a group or can we do it individually in the
individually
computers?
from home.
So it's $125.
We'd be able
do
to
it.
have one person come into our meeting room to do it, if somebody needed to, otherwise, that's all we would be able to handle.
The legislative ones are, those are the ones that I enjoy.
When are they gonna get to the point where they're gonna open up the Capitol to visitors?
No idea.
I'm vaccinated, so.
Yeah.
I'm on a long list. I got a letter, but I ain't gonna get into at least after March 15th, so it's a while out. That's the advantage of being old, right, Leo?
So I don't know if you guys wanna just designate, 2 or 3 of you to be part of that meeting, or if you wanna all be, or how you wanna do that. The 10 to 12 virtual meeting.
Say whoever would wanna be. I know.
We can call that in, right? When's the deadline to know by?
The 12th, I believe,
Yeah, I think it's after the next.
March 12th.
Yeah,
yeah.
Friday after the next board meeting.
Yeah, so we would have time to kick that around or see what else.
Well, it says on there they want us to register it as, but, yeah, we can wait until the next board meeting.
And because they need more room at the conference center.
I mean, I'm okay with waiting until the next meeting.
Yeah, I'd say get a little closer, see what the spring's bringing.
In the meantime, can you find out if it's gonna be a two-way conversation or if we're just listening?
We'll try to find out.
It's like, yeah, I can't see spending $50 just to sit there and listen to.
When you go up to the Capitol and talk to the senators, the legislature, or I've done it a number of times now, and every year it seems like you get less out of it because they kind of go through the motion.
Yep.
You know, they're just there to say, yeah. But you close the door and leave, they forgot what you told them.
Yeah,
So
there's an old saying of that, you know, that even in the trade show industry and the ag industry, if you don't show up to the ag show, everybody thinks you're out of business. And when you do show up, nobody stops by anyway. And that's kind of the same way this is, that it's almost, you look at it and say, boy, that was a waste of time and money. But if you ain't there, you're irrelevant.
Yep.
And that's the same thing with this. You just got to stay in front of them no matter what.
Well, I know that one year, I think it was Steve Duskowski, you know, we brought up about these large water banks that are eroding away all the time. Isaac says down by his creek, they're hauling in rock now to put, you know, riprap along where it's washing, so somebody got some money, the DNR got some money to start
Dres is-
looking and doing that.
Dres is a lot more active than what you realize.
Yeah,
You
but I
know?
mean, he's the one who said, you know, he brought up that picture, what are we gonna do about this?
Yeah.
And I know we had the conversation beforehand, so it kind of fit right in, so,
And if it's farmer focused, Dres is on it.
Yeah.
You know, if it's.
Yeah, he's one of the better ones.
yeah. So, to
Yeah,
Leo,
I
I
don't know
think
what
it is important that we go up there, cause right there's an example that I can see in Isaac's
Yeah.
backyard anyway,
Yeah,
that
there
it's
is-
making a difference.
There is a difference in the legislature. There's some of them that,
Would rather go.
guy in Winona down here, I don't,
Would rather go.
huh?
Okay, but we can't go, so how do you wanna handle?
So that's
I
my
have to set
question.
up
Are
virtual
they-
meetings with them.
It says on or near March 18th. Are they
Right.
giving us a time frame? Are they setting that agenda?
No,
and we
I
follow
have
it?
to set up a meeting with each of them with us. And we do have a Zoom account, so we can set it up so everybody can Zoom together. But I don't see that I'm gonna be able to get all four of them back to back to back to back.
That'd be pretty good.
So we may, if we're gonna do this, we may have one morning, one in the afternoon, and one another
It's
day.
gonna be
and
really hard to do.
It's gonna be,
Can we,
so my thought is, can I just put together meetings and then see which one of you guys can participate in each one of them?
or do we just target a couple? Or,
Well, even if I'm just the only one on a couple, that's fine, but I'd like to talk to all four of them.
well,
It's
we've
only
got
four.
time between now and then, so my suggestion would be do exactly that. See what we can get set up. The next meeting, we can reconvene, see who can be there, what that schedule looks like, and we'll determine it at that.
Okay.
And if anybody's got any bullet points that you were to discuss with them.
We're working on, this green sheet has a bunch of stuff that SWCD's presenting, and that'll be on the 18th. So we could talk about some of that, but we're working on our accomplishments report and stuff like that too, so we'll have something by then.
Supervisor per diem increase, that's being kicked around again.
Yep.
Say that one.
You know, that was part of the, I don't remember what, part of the budget, whole discussions that never got passed last year. So it's back on again this year. I think it got passed by one, but not the other, or something like that. So I'll do that, I'll go ahead and set up appointments and then get you guys the agenda, or the timing for all of them and see if we can get at least 2 or 3 for each one of them.
So then should we have a motion to table this until next month? For action?
Yeah,
Or
that'd be best.
just a board discussion that we had, is that action enough?
That's good enough?
I'll just leave it on
Okay, moving on to old business then. Progressive Egg Safety Day, Amanda?
So in early January, I sent out a survey to all the third grade teachers and got a great response from them. There's a lot of interest in doing virtual safety day. However, kind of either the time in May or the length of sessions varied a little bit. So we set up 2 virtual safety day events to be able to cover hopefully everyone that wants to attend. So we've got a 2-day, May 5th through 6th, they're 1 hour each. And then 3-day, May 18th to May 20th that are 40 minutes each, so that they can fit in the students' kind of schedules for that school. So far we've got 4 classes signed up, and they have till the end of February to send in their registrations. We had 16 teachers respond to the survey, so there's a lot more that are still looking at signing up yet, and I'll send out a reminder here probably next week so that we don't lose anyone or they don't forget about it. We'll still have goodie bags and t-shirts to give all the kids. We'll have to drop them off at the schools early so that they can get it out to any students that are still distance learning. We'll have to set up Zoom meetings for each session, forward that on to the teachers so that they can forward it on to any kids to get distance learning. And there's also gonna be hands-on activities in their take-home bags that they can do. It'll kind of be a little presentation at the end of a couple of the sessions, and then they'll be able to work on that as the session closes out. So should be hopefully good information still being portrayed to the students. And most of the teachers are pretty excited just to get something other than their normal Zoom classes and stuff. So yeah.
Are you having help with this from anybody?
Yeah,
Okay.
Carolyn Dingfelder and yes, Melinda. I was thinking Megan. I know I'm getting mixed up with Megan here. Melinda Groth are putting a lot of work in with me, kind of reaching out and things like that. As far as the budget to help fill those bags and get the materials for hands-on activities, we do have some left over from last year that was just slid over to this year. We're not going to go out and individually target businesses just with things the way they are financially. We don't want to, ask someone for funding and put them in a bind where they want to but can't sort of situation. So we're going to do more of like a Facebook outreach request to send in donations and like a request to the newspapers and things like that for people who are willing and want to send in donations. Farm Bureau is also looking to do a grant and hopefully be able to donate either 1,000 or 1,500 again. So yeah.
Okay. You wanna do the aquatic invasive species right away?
Yep, so they posted the position with CCM online for our apprentice for the summer. So hopefully we'll be seeing some applications and resumes here in, I think it's usually mid to late March that they send them on to us. So kind of excited for that. Otherwise, been watching a lot of webinars and trainings and things like that yet that are coming through. People are pushing out. So yeah.
Okay. Kay isn't here. Did she send any words with you, Sheila, from?
No, sure.
Okay.
Not COVID.
So then we'll have your report then?
Okay, for the Whitewater, for our next meeting next Thursday, we have the drinking water protection grant, and which provides cost share for cover crops. And I was able to get an extension for another year, so I have that on the agenda, so that starting this year, we can still offer 3 years of a cover crop contract. So that'll work out a lot better, so I have that on the agenda for next week. That's all I know.
Okay. Sue, the NRCS?
Or Jessica?
Yeah. Oh,
Jesse.
Oh.
I was gonna say, I was gonna give you both an opportunity, so
That's okay.
I'll give it to the NRCS and let them handle it.
Well, do you,
I can just, there's a, CRP Forestry Management Initiative sign up that's going on currently. It started January 19th and goes through end September 30th. It has to do with management of existing contracts that have forestry practices. So if you've signed up for a CP3, 3A, they basically will allow you to do brush management, herbaceous weed control, conservation cover. There's a select amount of practices that they're eligible to do in existing contracts. But it has to be, if you've already done it management, you're not eligible. And then if you're in the last 2 years of your contract, you're not eligible of CRP. So it kind of has to be in between that time period, where you have issues with, existing contracts. So that's out there, that just got announced. And then they extended our existing CRP. And that date is to be determined, but they've extended it. They started it,
January 1st?
January, yeah, 12th, I think,
Yeah.
January 12th. It was supposed to end February 12th. And they, nationwide, I don't think they have a lot of applications. I know Winona County's got around 8 or 9 that are there. And we have some that have, land transfer issues and they're late certifying, but that'll help some of these, the extension will allow some of them to get some of that stuff done so that they can be considered. So it's gonna benefit us to get them people considered. But there's not a whole lot of, interest. It's been advertised, so I mean, and I've talked to a lot of people. I think they're looking at prices, what prices are doing and trying to figure it out, you know, so.
What's the goal for the enrollment total?
They
And then,
they have a shortfall of over 4 million acres nationwide.
Yeah,
I mean, it used to be 24 million acres, so are they
Yeah,
still
it's-
around that?
29.
Oh, they're up to 29?
Yeah, I think with the new,
Farm
in
bill.
18, or the Farm Bill
Okay.
18, they increased those acres just due to the fact that there was so much expiring coming out.
Okay.
But they also reduced the pay rates.
Yes.
Yeah, quite a
the
bit.
payment rates
So
went
that's one of the
down.
things they're looking at, considering maybe making adjustments to that to help get more signups.
And I think another issue that they're running into is they've got that EPI index set so high, and there's a lot of producers right now who are trying to sign up and they're not, that EPA rating is really low right now.
That's
So I think-
environmental benefit.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're gonna, I think all the new offers that have been put into FSA, I think those FSA techs have to go back and re-rank all those that were already in the system from the beginning of the general offers. So there's a lot of legwork going on.
Because I know a few years ago when the land rent was so high, then the FSA, whether they increased the
Yes.
amount. I think Winona County was what, 220 or 225, something like that.
Yeah, now is it 160?
Yeah, I
165,
know.
I think.
Winona's max payment rate is 173 for
Yeah.
nationwide, it's 240. So, you know, most of our contracts are less than the max that they can get, just it's based on the soil types, and they're usually enrolling, you know, the more highly buildable soils. So that
I know what the
draws it right there.
corn and bean prices where they're at, land rent is hitting $300 an acre up by Plainview already. So it might drive the price of the CRP contracts up then again.
So then on top of that, like I said, I'm Jessie, I'm the district conservationist team lead for Houston, Winona, and Fillmore, so I'm in charge of all 3 of our counties. I have been working with NRCS for 18 years. So what I just wanted to do is, since NRCS has done the merging and did our adjustments, we have 21 active teams in the state of Minnesota, so there's 21 of us team leads within Minnesota. So what they've done is, like on my little notes, you'll see like on the bottom and top, coming up in March, NRCS and stuff is gonna be holding some local work group meeting trainings like we had a couple of years ago, which is gonna make sense. You probably are all like, well, we don't need a local work group. Yes, because guess what NRCS has actually done? They've actually now gave us our pools back for cropland, pasture land, and forest land. So we actually get to take our local work group voice for our 3 counties and make our priorities worth something now. Because we're getting our own funding for our 3 counties within our own team. So they're gonna be doing, it's 4 trainings. They're gonna be held on Wednesdays through Zoom. There's not a lot of, they have a morning training and an afternoon training. And then on the stuff that we had been provided, it said that there's gonna be an informational session for the supervisors that will follow this training to help you guys understand why our voice really matters now. So I'm really super excited about that, because after 18 years of going to local work group meetings and we're all like, our voice doesn't, now we're really gonna have an impact on our own resource concerns that we're gonna identify based off of the practices. So we wanna make sure that the resource concerns that we're addressing actually match the practices that we want to implement and what we're implementing within our counties. So for example, here, you'll see that I have it broken up. We've got, I'll just use Winona County. I won't go through all the rest of them. But for EQIP right now, we're looking at the high applications, and the reasons they're high was because we had to look at everything that was into our system and an application signed by September 30th. Anybody who came in after that September 30th deadline, they got just the medium ranking. That's just gonna help with priority of handling the workload that we have. That was only for the general pools. On top of that, we also have that RCPP pool, where a lot of our applications will fall underneath that one watershed, one plan funding that we have. On top of that, we do have $153,217 in EQIP money for our one watershed, one pool under RCPP. So right now there is, in Winona County, there's 12 applications. So that means that those 12 applications are gonna just be competing with that RCPP money, on top of the 16 from Fillmore and the 4 from Houston. So there's 32 applications right now sitting, trying to compete for that $153,000. I have rough cost estimates on all 32 of those applications. I think we're gonna be good. I think we will have enough. With that being said, on top of my general, we have 45 high applications throughout our team. Of those 45,000, I've got, not all of them are gonna fall into the cropland, but our team, on top of that 153,000 for RCPP, I've got 160,000 in our cropland pool for just our producers alone to compete with. So that is like our grade staves, your cover crops, the no-till, strip-till, anything, pasture now. We've got our own pasture land money within our team. Let me pull that up real quick. So our pasture land money, it's all, so team 21, which is our 3 counties, we got $65,000 for our pasture land applications. So rather than like in the past of competing it within the whole state for all this money, we now got our own money. That's where these local work group meetings are gonna come into play, because if we wanna keep that money here and we can actually fund our own applications now and not worrying about like, what are the counties out west or way up in Duluth doing for their pastures. So our 3 counties are gonna be able to work together, combine our local work groups to make our ranking questions and stuff really strong. On top of that, we have, for our forest land, we are the only office within our southeast area and they pushed all $80,000 of the forest land to our team because we have a high workload in forestry. So that's really good. So all said and done, Team 21, Houston, Winona, and Fillmore, we have $305,000 of our own local money. Now that isn't even talking about all of our state initiatives and our national initiatives. So we will still have, under RCPP, we still have that driftless money for stream banks. So there's still 277,000 in that first phase. In the second phase, there was 150,000. Then we still, this is the last year for that Bowser feedlot. There's 114,000 and some change left over on that. They did include a pasture for grazing within that feedlot one. But that's not gonna worry because we have our own 65,000 with the applications I have right now. We're gonna be good. The state accounts are still your organic. We still have money for the on-farm energy applications. We still have our high tunnel. We still have beginning farmer funding pool, socially disadvantaged, the cap pool, the wildlife pool. Then we have a honeybee pool. So I mean, we have a lot of pools, but the most exciting thing to take away from all this gibberish that I try not, that's why I didn't bore you with it all here, is we've got our own local money this year. So I think it's really good because hopefully we will be able to fund a lot of our applications and get more conservation on the land, especially our plant treatments that are gonna help our bottom land. So it's kind of a lot going on. I have the 3 counties, so I'm kind of every day I'm making sure that we're getting everybody. We are currently just rolled out our assessment and ranking. So yeah, we're rocking and rolling.
But the RCPP for the one watershed, one plan, is that the dollar amount just for our 3 counties or for the whole?
That's for the Root River One watershed. That's for the Root River one. Yeah.
But even with that, that means they did redistribute some money.
Yes, we got more money because we were down to the 53,000.
Yeah.
So they were, so Bowser and the managers all had a meeting, and I know I had stressed to Laura and stuff at my local level with the manager in Fillmore, and I said, hey, if you can pull money from one of the other 4 watersheds that aren't using money, tell them we need it. Which is why we don't have that much this year in our general crop plan, because we have that 153,000 sitting on the table right now. So one thing to keep in mind, so the cropland, like, we got 1.6 million through Southeast Minnesota out of the money that we got for the state of Minnesota. So they broke it up into the 4 areas. So I'm just gonna rattle these numbers off, and this is where I kind of get a little nervous with for next year. So we've got that one watershed, one money plan money now. So that's that 150. So we only got 160,000 for cropland, but my other teams, 280 in Roch, Albert Lee got allocated 340. Mankato's team was 280. Faribault was 200, and Glencoe's team was 340,000. We only got the 160,000 because I had that other pool, but next year we're not gonna have that other pool. So we don't know how much, we might not have that balance of that 305,000 to play with next year. So that's where local work groups, I think that's why they're throwing this training out so we can get that ball rolling and get our resource concerns and the practices that we want to implement identified now so we can be prepared. Because we might have a tougher time because we won't have all that one watershed, one plan money.
And they didn't apply for any one watershed additional money.
I don't remember if they did apply or if they got turned down, but I know they had conversations with USDA and they said it really didn't, it wasn't gonna work because there's too many watersheds moving now.
Yeah, because I think originally it was just the first
The
5.
first 5, yeah.
Yeah, and now there's been other plans approved. So.
And they're one of the original 5, last I heard anyway, hadn't spent a penny of it, of their RCPP federal money. And that's why they redistributed to the other watersheds that were using it. That's how we got 100,000.
Yes, so they distributed out, I think there was two watersheds that weren't really using their money, and, yeah, so we were able to get that 100,000, which was, I was happy with that. So,
The other thing is the feedlots, any feedlots would be competing under a statewide pool.
yeah, we have.
It's not a local pool anymore, it's.
Well, we got that 115 or whatever.
Right,
That's
but I'm
it.
just saying that's.
Yeah, and at the
still-
local level for area wise, southeast Minnesota in our farmstead, we have 900,000. That is for egg waste, because all of our egg waste are considered homestead. So, yeah. But other than that, I see a lot of applications getting by good conservation.
It's almost going back to the old days when we had ACP cost share, where the county committee would have, the ASCS would have so much money in the county, and they would determine which projects would get funded and stuff. It's kind of coming back to that a little bit.
I really like it coming back to the local level where we're getting our money, because now, like, last year what was happening was people were attaching practices on top of, like, say they were gonna do a waterway, but then they're like, well, Mr. Producer, let's throw in cover crops, cause you're gonna score higher. So then they were getting more points, and then it was kind of a struggle yeah. I think this is just gonna be a lot better, cause we're gonna compete amongst ourselves. Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do the supervisors reports. Bill, you wanna give us a update on the WinLAC? If there's anything?
Yeah, it was a Zoom meeting, and it was basically to introduce all the people that will be on committees and stuff like that. We talked about the memorandum, we talked about a lot of stuff, but mostly it was just introducing, you know, what the watershed includes, how many different watersheds are actually within, you know, the main watershed. Just a lot of information. The people from Houston County are Teresa Walters and Jerry Wilkie, that are on the policy committee. And then Matt Flynn and Cheryl Winters from Olmsted County. And Wabasha County is Bob Walkers, and Lynn Zabel, and then Winona County is Marie Koleski and myself. And then Stockton Rolling Stone, Minnesota, that's a kind of a separate watershed within our watershed. Michelle Frisbee, and then the town of Winona is being represented by Elaine Moore. Okay, all right. Yeah. Lots of information presented, and it's going to be interesting to see how this all develops and stuff, and you know, it was a little bit well, I wouldn't call it overwhelming, but there's just a whole lot of information, you know, that was presented at this Zoom meeting and stuff, and so, but I'll get more comfortable with it as time goes on. Yeah. And then the Southeast JPL meeting, I didn't attend that. but I do have the minutes. And, it was, from reading the minutes and stuff, it was, pretty much an organizational meeting where they picked the officers and stuff like that, so. All the people that were temporary officials became permanent officials, and
Bill wasn't there, so he's the vice chair again.
the vice chair, yeah, so.
Or co-chair. I think they
Vice
call it.
chair.
Who is the chair? Who is the chair?
Um,
From Olmsted County, wasn't it? I think that was
yeah,
him.
who is the chair? That's the question.
That's not Randy, is it?
Paul Euchre?
Oh, yep, I think that sounds right.
Yeah. We got, the, signature card for, so that they can write checks now.
Yep.
That was, okay, a little bit of an ordeal, not really, but, I had to drive up to Goodhue to sign the thing and stuff. So now they can pay people. That's pretty much all I got to say.
Okay. Josh, you got anything?
Oh, no, I will not be in attendance next week for the White Water Drive Power Board.
You will not?
No, I'll be in
Okay.
sunny Mexico.
Okay.
Picking up seed, right?
Yeah. Work related. What's that?
Enjoying the heat.
Enjoying the heat. Yeah, we'll all be there.
Come back.
Yeah. So, we obviously didn't meet last month, so we don't know what dates. We'll be there.
Jerry, you got any?
Yeah, I'd like to just take a couple minutes and tell you a little bit about the last hunting trip we were on.
Was it a walk-on access?
Pardon me?
Walk-in access?
No, it was on federal land mostly, so, it was automatically walk in, drive in, whatever, but, we were in the sand hills of Nebraska, which is a real interesting topographic area. It was interesting in a sense that it's the largest native prairie in the lower 48. It was somewhere in the area of 250,000 acres. Also, it was partially the largest hand-planted forest in the world. 120,000 acres had been hand-planted during the CC days in the Depression. You could look out over 100,000 acres of it and not see a tree. They didn't grow. And that's one of the reasons that it's the largest native prairie chunk in the country. But a really exciting thing happened to me. We were in a small valley, creek running through it, and my dog was up ahead, and about from that wall to me, a snowy owl took off out of the tree, flies right towards me the whole way, just staring at me with that big round face. Got about from me to Andy away, and he swerves off and missed me by about 6 feet. I could have virtually grabbed him out of the air. That was just so cool. Never heard a thing, couldn't hear a thing from his wings. All I could feel was the torque when he went by. I could feel the torque of those wings. That was just so interesting. But one thing about that territory is they have what is called the Grand Slam. It's 4 game birds: pheasant, sharp-tailed grouse, prairie chicken, and bobwhite quail. And if a particular hunter is able to bag all 4, they get the grand slam and their name goes into something or another and they get a drawing and they get a trophy, the dog gets a plaque and a collar and all of that. And my son did accomplish that, so at the moment he's in the drawing for a gun. A couple years ago, he won a $3,000 gun through Pheasants Forever, but that's immaterial to this. But it was a fun trip, the last one of the season, so now it's 8 months before I can go hunting again.
Whatever do you do with your time?
Pardon me?
Whatever do you do with your time in that 8 months? You sit and dream, I suppose.
Yeah, that's pretty much 4 months of the year. I'm either going, coming back, or planning, so.
Habitat work at home.
Yeah, that's one of the advantages of retirement.
Okay. Leo?
I don't have anything this month.
Okay. Is it Megan? Is that how you say it?
Yep.
You're new, so if you could just give us a little bit of a job description of what you do
Sure.
and, you know, what your activities, so we kind of got an idea.
Right. So I was hired on mid-August, and at that point in time, I pretty much jumped in on any training that I could. And since I'll be helping out with subsurface, with septic, I developed 4 different classes right away, and 2 of them were online, so I took advantage of some online classes. So that took quite a chunk of brain effort because they're pretty rounded classes. And I also attended stormwater, so I'm just trying to get up to speed so when spring comes around, I can jump in on a mentoring program and be right in there on SWCD. Lately I've been, all through that period I've been helping Eric and Lou with land use processing, preparing either development certificates or conditional use permits. We've got a planning commission meeting next week that I'll be presenting at. So there's the land use side, there's the septic side, and I'm also helping Sheila out with one watershed, one plan for Lindwhack, which is very interesting to me. This is all a lot more grounded work, which I really appreciate instead of kind of often permit land or inspection land. And I just plan on being a part of that working group and helping Sheila with that process.
So are you gonna be basically our liaison between the planning commission and SWCD, or no? Not replacing, Kay?
Unless Kay gives me, messages to relay, that's
Okay.
about as close as I'll get.
Okay.
I'm sure Kay will want to attend too.
Okay, just curious and stuff.
Yeah.
Welcome to our
Thank you.
meetings. Darryl, you're up next.
If you guys remember, last month, you approved submitting our compliance pay equity, and we already got it back. We were approved, or we're compliant. So there's our certificate. Figured since we have our projector and screen, I can show you our certificate. So that went really nice and smooth. Wanda does the work for that. Also, last Friday, a USDA team toured the prospective sites for office space. And so I don't know where all they went, but I do know they toured the other end of the building where we're at now. They also toured this area. Those are 2 potential sites. The one landowner that I've talked to last fall, it sounds like they toured his site, and maybe he might have a couple other sites that he's looking at to see which one that USDA would prefer. So things are progressing slowly. If you remember when I brought this up last fall, they said it's probably a 2-year process. So hopefully things get to the point where the USDA picks where they're going to go, so then we can start working with that individual, whether it's here or someplace else. So we can start working with them and see if we can be right next to USDA. I was gonna tell you about the CRP Sign Up Extension, but that's already taken care of.
Is there a deadline on that extension?
No, what they're doing is they basically are reevaluating the program, see what they can do to make it more attractive.
Okay.
So until they figure that out, I think John said that technically they can take more applications, but he's asking his staff to just take down their names and what their interest is, but don't take the application, because if they change anything, they have to redo the application anyway. So it's just kind of on hold, and hopefully in the next few weeks or so, they'll get something figured out and have a new end date, and hopefully it'll be more attractive. Like I said, the enrollment shortfall of over 4 million acres. So they got a long ways to go.
They're having to the Bath is having to rerun the applications they already had, that's why they put a hold for the new ones.
Yeah.
Because the EDI
Right.
changed, they looked at that and adjusted that, so now they have to go back and redo all the other ones, and then they'll start doing it.
Do they have a figure as to the number of acres that are in those applications? No idea.
FSA knows, I haven't been to that.
All we know is it's less than 10. He said it's single digit,
Yeah, I think it's 8
8 or 9,
applications,
something
is
like
all we
that.
have.
Something like what?
8 or 9 applications for the whole county.
Oh.
Last year we had
77.
I was curious if they're 4 million acres short, what are the total of the applications, if that would?
It's small acres, the ones we have, I don't think any of them are over 10 acres.
Ooh. It takes a lot of contracts
Takes a
to
long
get
time.
4 million acres.
Yeah.
And really in southeast Minnesota, we don't have the big 40-acre contracts usually.
No.
No, you go out western Minnesota, Iowa, Dakotas, whatever, it's easier to get those big acreages. But anyway, we'll have to just wait and see. And the reason I was bringing it up is last year, because we had such a huge sign-up, they had a contribution agreement that we worked on some of those contracts and made some pretty decent money on that. Right now, there is no contribution agreement, so hopefully they get something where there's more applications so we can do that again. The only other thing I had is, I guess that was, about the space. And 3 sites that I know of. I'll have to wait and see. That's all I have.
Okay. Under this committee appointment and meetings, we just look at them. Do we gotta go through each one?
No, it's
Everybody
just
just
for
take
your
a,
information.
pay attention to which one you're involved in.
Did you get your email for Bone?
Nope, not since,
Your name is on there.
I looked yesterday morning, I didn't have nothing from, I had something from Juan, about the meeting, but that's all I had.
Before that,
Yeah, I think I got it either Friday or Monday. And
Okay.
your name was on the list.
I'll check again when I get home,
Okay.
so, but yeah, it's next Wednesday at
9 o'clock. is it?
9 o'clock, yeah.
So make sure you let me know if I have to forward it to you.
Yeah, yep, okay.
When you forward those meeting invitations, it goes to whoever sent it out and they have to approve it to activate it for you. So,
Okay. So, next regular monthly board meeting is Thursday, March 11th. Motion to
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Sounds good.